Hi, thought I'd take you through a real quick little thing of what I'm doing now. I'm getting ready to make another batch of apple butter. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I've got two different varieties of apple here. I've got Golden Delicious and I got Red Delicious. I like to get one that's a little sweet and one that's a little tart, and I like to blend those when I make this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel them, as you can see here. The quickest way I've seen to peel, basically I take the apple and a vegetable peeler, I go around the top, take that ring off the top, I take a ring off the bottom, just like that, and then I just join the top and the bottom's rings, going down the sides, just like this. And then what I'm going to do once I get all these done, I've got 6 or 8 of the apples of each variety. Then I've got my apple wedger that's going to core it and cut it into wedges at the same time. And then I'm going to chop it up into smaller pieces. Once I get that done, I'm going to add that to my mix. And the mix is about, since I'm making a pretty good sized batch here, I've got 2/3 of a cup of raw sugar, right? I've got 1 cup of a light brown sugar. I've got about 2 tablespoons, or 2 teaspoons rather, of ground cinnamon. I've got 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. That's all there is to it. I'm going to mix that together. I'm going to put it in the crock pot. I'm going to put it on high and let it go, stirring it every so often until everything's very soft. Then what I'm going to do is I will either put it in the blender, I'll put it in a food processor, or I'll use my immersion blender, turn it into a puree, put it in a jar. It's pretty much that simple. But anyway, I'm going to take a break here real quick, get these apples kind of cut up, peeled and cut up. I'll bring you back so you can see what that looks like. Give me just a second. Figured while I'm working on this for just a second, I'm just about done peeling these apples, but I figured I'd take a real quick second and say I'm going to save these peelings, and I'm going to save the cores. And I made a little batch of the apple butter earlier today, and I saved the peels and cores, and I put those in a quart jar with some raw sugar, and one tablespoon for every cup of water, and you want to use distilled water. But I put that in a quart, so I put about 2.5 to 3 tablespoons of sugar in hot water. Not boiling, but just hot, to let it dissolve. I pack a quart jar full of the rinds and the core, or the peels and the cores and stuff like that, and then I pour that sugar water over the top of it, leaving about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of space from where the apple leftovers are to the top of the jar, and then I cover that really well with the water, but I still leave about 1 inch, 1.5 inches of distance between the top of the jar and the water. Then I put a coffee filter over the top of it and put the lid on. And then I set that on the back of the stove where it's going to stay warm and out of the way, but not in direct sunlight. And in about 3 to 4 weeks, that's going to ferment down into a good apple cider vinegar. The reason you add the sugar to it is that will mix with the acid in the apple and cause the bacteria to grow, which becomes the mother. So you will have a really good mother in your apple cider vinegar. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the apple core, now that I've got all the apples peeled. And basically, I'm sure everybody knows how to use this, but just in case, what I'm going to do is I take this apple core, I set it on top of the apple, right on top of the core, and you press down. What that does is it cuts down through the center of the apple, slicing it into the wedges, and cuts the core out of the center. So you end up with a core and apple slices. Now I'm going to take those apple slices, I'm going to cut them up a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to mix them in with the sugar, the allspice, and all that kind of stuff, put it in a crock pot. And I already explained what I'm doing from there. But give me just a few minutes and I will let you see what that looks like in the crock pot. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I've got all of the apples peeled and cored into the crock pot, stirring it up to get a good covering of all the other ingredients. I'm going to put it on the crock pot on high for several hours. When it's all soft, then and you can tell when they're soft, it'll be smashable and whatever else. And then I'll blend them all up and put them in jars. And what you end up with looks like this. It looks like a puree. And typical apple butter. Only 3,000 times better than your typical apple butter. But I just thought I'd like to share that with you. And when I started to tell you I'm saving the peelings and the cores, I made a batch earlier and I'm making that into apple cider vinegar. I'm going to save these peels and cores, and I'm basically going to put them in a pan of water and boil it down. Once it's boiled down and everything's soft, I'm going to separate the solids from the liquid, and then I'm going to boil it down some more to reduce it. After I do that, I'll put it in a jar and seal it up, because basically what I will have is liquid pectin that I will use when I make other jams and jellies. Pectin is basically Sure-Jell. I'm just going to do it in liquid form. Another thing that's really good for that is if you have oranges. The white membrane inside the orange peel is almost pure pectin. And what you do is you peel the orange, and when you peel the orange, you take that peeling and you fillet that white membrane off. So when it comes off, like that, you will boil this down. But make sure you save the peeling part, because you can actually turn this into candied orange peel. You can put it into an orange peel jam. It's also very good. There's several different things you can do with it. I'll figure out what I want to do with this, and that's what we'll do. And I might bring you back and show you what I've done with that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.